Okay, it's time for a another rant video, and believe it or not, I didn't have this particular video planned or this particular subject matter, but something I had to talk about and discuss about, especially from what I've been seeing on these social ethers, where again people being outraged and jumping on a bandwagon of certain things. But anyway, this particular subject matter is about people who jump on the bandwagon of certain subject matters, and this can be a positive thing, or on a negative side of things. So I'll explain into more detail as to what I'm talking about. I've noticed that when it comes to jumping on the bandwagon of certain things, that for example, whether it's TV shows or movies or video games, where say something that you've got a new entity that is being made, and nobody wants to do the actual research into that particular subject matter. So let's take an easier subject matter to talk about. So let's say TV shows or even movies stuff, because I think that'll be a little bit easier, where you've got an unknown particular movie that's kind of coming out. You don't know, nobody knows how the movie's going to turn out, whether it's going to be great or if it's going to be good or not. So you'll start off, for example, with the casting, where you've got particular actors and actresses that have been cast in that particular TV show or movie. Again, nobody wants to sit there and wants to, like not jump into the bandwagon, but nobody wants to actually take an interest in to see where obviously this tiny seed is gonna grow. Then obviously you'll get, say for example, like a particular director, and it could be a big Hollywood director that's gonna be directing this TV show or movie. Then obviously you get obviously behind the scene stills, and then even trailers and TV spots, and then eventually the TV show or movie itself. And I'm one of these people where, like for example, where me for example, when it's especially when it comes to like sci-fi, I'm always interested in seeing new franchise Star Wars, sorry, sci-fi shows or movies that are coming about, especially if they're completely new and they're completely fresh. Now there have been some, for example, TV shows, sci-fi shows that I've jumped onto later on in their life cycles. So, for example, shows like Grimm, or even say, for example, when Supernatural was around, I wasn't there at the beginnings of when these shows kind of started. Or trying to think of another show now, or even shows like Fringe. I got into it kind of later on, but there've been other shows where shows like say like Smallville or or even like Star Trek Next Generation, or even shows like Sliders and other shows where, or even Westworld, even though that was based on a movie, or if you want to go prior to that, Westworld was based on a book, where you know absolutely nothing about how a certain product is going to is going to turn out, or even a video game. You could even use say like Pikmin, which is a a recent, not a recent franchise, but it was on the GameCube, where that was a totally fresh new IP that had been created and nobody knew nothing about it. And it wasn't like at the time of the Call of Duties or the Marios or the Sonics that were around at the time. Completely new and right there. And sometimes you'll see something and you'll look at it and think, you know what, that particular thing seems very interesting, and you'll think, you know what, I'm gonna keep an eye on this particular thing, and I'm gonna, see how this thing progresses. And again, with like TV shows, as I said before, sci-fi in particular, where I've said to myself, you know what, this thing has got me interested. You know what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna check it out. So I'll watch the first episode, and I think to myself, you know what, I'm actually liking it, because I'm actually liking the episode. So I'll stick with it, see how the show kind of progresses, and you know you end up liking it more than what you should. Then before you know it, you actually fall in love with the actual show. But but then you get these other particular kind of people who they don't want to sit there and do it, because they don't want to sit there and take risks. So what they do is that they wait until something becomes successful, and then they jump on the bandwagon or when something becomes popular. Now, again, that's their opinion. From if people want to do that, for me, that's not my thing. But I do think that for me, in my honest opinion, that's taking kind of the easy way out, in the sense that it's very easy to wait until somebody's done all the work, and then it's become successful, and all of a sudden the word of mouth spreads, and people said, "Oh, that's great," and then you jump on it. You go, "Oh, I knew it was going to be good," when you weren't even invested in the particular thing from the very beginning of its existence. And that annoys me in terms of people jumping on the bandwagon, because it's almost as if they're frightened or scared of, of taking a risk on, or taking a chance on something that they don't know whether or not it's going to end up becoming good or whether it's going to become bad. For me, I will always give something a chance. It doesn't matter whether it's a video game, TV show, or a movie, or in a comic book. It could be anything. I will sit there and I'll give anything a chance, because that's what you have to do in life. Then you get the opposite kind of thing that happens, where people jump on a bandwagon of something when they don't like something. So, for example, there'll be something, whether it could be a TV show or a movie, and it's somebody will quietly be slagging it off or not liking it, and it's almost as if that these particular group of people don't want to sit there and kind of say anything. It's almost as if they're waiting for that one person to sit there and to basically rip that particular subject matter a new one. And then what I've often noticed is that as soon as somebody sits there and slags something off, then all of a sudden, like worms, they all come out, and then it's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't like it too. I thought that was crap and it was rubbish and something," and they all come out. But they always wait until that one person comes out to say it, because I guess that it makes it feel that they're all in the same. I'm trying to think of the right word here. They're all in the same wheelhouse, that they can sit there and go, "Oh, I didn't like it," because it's almost as if they're scared that if they sit there and they say that they don't like something, or they thought if the particular thing was crap, that they're going to be the only one, that then no one's going to take any notice of them and they're going to be ignored. But then when somebody sits there and kind of says like, "Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, blah blah, yada yada yada," it makes it easier for them to sit there to come out, because they know that they're not going to get castigated, or they're not going to get blasted because they've opened their mouths and not liking something. And as I said about this particular subject matter, this is what I don't like about people who just jump on the bandwagon of something, good or bad. I just find it kind of completely and utterly silly. And this is gonna kind of divert into another particular subject matter, where I don't understand why people seem to thrive on this sort of thing of negativity and hate, where people seem to sit there and not like something. At the end of the day, look, right, this particular subject matter can apply to TV shows, movies, and video games. Not all video games, TV shows, movies are going to cater to everybody. So, for example, even if there's a TV show that you don't like and it's not tickling your ivories, right? There are plenty of other shows out there, old and new, that will cater to what you like and do you want. Just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean that there isn't other people out there that will find enjoyment in that particular TV show. It's the same thing in video games. Like, there's different genres of video games. Like, there's action video games, there's horror video games, there's puzzle games, there's RPGs, there's loads of different types of genres out there. But just because you don't like that particular kind of thing, it doesn't mean that somebody else can't have their personal enjoyment out of it. Now, for most of you, who may know me in real life, or seen my stuff on social media or on my YouTube channel, a lot of people know that there's certain genre of movies I like. Like, I like comedies. In my younger days, I didn't like thrillers because it meant having to think. And I can honestly say that being younger, I didn't have the patience or the mentality to like something where you had to kind of really have to think, and a movie or a TV show was a slow burner. But as I got older and a lot maturer, I started to appreciate these things a lot more. Maybe that's to do with age. Sometimes it isn't. But I like comedies. I like thrillers. Most people know I love action movies. I like sci-fi superhero movies. But I'm not a particular fan of romantic movies, or rom-coms as they call them. I'm not a fan of horror films. They just don't do it for me. But even though I don't like those particular genre of movies or TV shows, it doesn't mean that I hate it to a point where other people can't enjoy it and can't love it. As I said, I don't like horror films. I have my particular kind of reasons where, for me, I've got my personal reasons as to why I don't like them. But there are loads of other people. There are loads of people that love horror films, the classic George Romero horror movies, all these classic horror films, and I don't get them. But it doesn't mean that other people can't have that personal enjoyment out of it just because I don't get it or I don't like it, and that's fine, because not everything is made for me. And I find it very kind of silly how people will just hate, oh, I think so, it's utter crap, it's rubbish, and especially as to when they're not giving you a proper in-depth kind of explanation as to why they don't like something. They just sit there and just hating it. And again, as I said, they just wait for somebody else to sit there to do it, and then they'll do it. Because I guess now they know they're not going to get picked on because somebody else has come out and, and has said it first. And I just find it completely and utterly stupid. I think in a lot of ways, and especially in this day and age, is that we are spoilt for choice. I remember a time when if you wanted to watch a movie show, a movie or a TV series, for example, you could only watch it if it happened to air in the UK on a particular terrestrial TV channel. And sometimes, if you were lucky, that you could afford to have a VHS recorder, so you could record it, and then you could watch it at your own leisurely pleasure. Or you had the money to actually go out there and buy the actual series on, at the time, VHS, or eventually it was DVD, and obviously now we've got Blu-ray and 4K. Now we live in a day and age now where we're kind of spoilt for choice, where we can go out there and watch these things on terrestrial TV, or even though they don't exist, it's all digital signal now. Now you've got multitudes of streaming services where you can watch TV shows and movies to your heart content as many times as you want. You can pause, record, you can go out for a meal and set it to record, or it's there on a streaming service ready to when you watch it when you want to watch it. Or a particular TV show, its entire first or whatever it is season is available to watch, so you can binge watch it. You didn't have to sit there and for example, and have to wait until the following week until it airs on TV or it airs in a streaming service. You don't have to. You can sit there and sit in your comfort of your own home, and as long as you've got a decent enough internet and you've got obviously a way of paying for a particular service, that you can watch a TV show such as on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever it happens to be, or on Paramount Plus, or on or wherever you are in the world. You're so spoilt for choice. Similar thing with video games now, where you can you don't have to go out to a shop now, because not many shops now sell physical copies of video games, especially here in the UK. Now you can sit there in the comfort of your own home and download a video game. You can now preload a pre-order. So say for example that you've got a game such as Starfield. If I really wanted to now, I could actually, although it doesn't come out until September, I can actually pre-install the game on my hard drive onto my Xbox, although it isn't out yet, ready for when it's available on day one of release. It's already there on my hard drive because I've already pre-installed it months ago. And we live in this day and age now, for me, where we are so fortunate to be in the positions of where we are, where we've got everything at our fingertips. And for me, maybe it's me showing my age, but I remember, as I said before earlier on, where you couldn't do any of this. If I wanted to watch, say, like an episode of Knight Rider, for example, you had to wait until next week. And if you wanted to sit there and watch it, either and you wanted to go outside and play football with your friends, or go out somewhere, and you never had a VHS recorder before they came in, or you couldn't afford one, you had to make that choice of, do I go out? Do I sit there and not go out and then watch that particular episode, or do I go out and then miss that particular episode? And there were many a times when there were certain shows what I wanted to watch where I couldn't record it, and I knew that I would have to wait for months, maybe years, until they did a rerun of that particular season. So sometimes I took that risk, and all you had family dues, and you ended up missing that particular episode or that particular movie. And obviously, but after, in those days, you could rent VHS tapes out, and especially if someone hadn't taken out that particular movie and they weren't available. But I sometimes think that we live in a world where we're just too entitled, in my honest opinion. And I think sometimes, I mean, yeah, I've complained about certain things, but I don't complain about things for the sake of just doing it. It's like, I was thinking to myself just earlier on that with, like people jumping on a bandwagon and complaining about anything and everything these days, and being outraged about anything. And I know I've said this a million times on different videos on my YouTube channel. I know that if I'd followed that same suit of being negative and being hateful on certain things, that I would have got a lot more views on my YouTube channel, and a lot more subscribers to my channel. If I simply started hating and being negative on everything, because I see a lot of these people that do that, and they get all the hits, because for me, it's kind of like a virus that once one person gets it, it kind of just spreads, a bit like having the flu or the cold. And I can't do that. I mean, I would quite happily sit there on my YouTube channel and try and be true to who I am, and stay relatively as being a small YouTube channel, knowing that I'm being true to who I am, and being honest with everybody about how I feel about a particular thing, and putting my heart and my soul and how I feel about a particular thing, rather than sitting there and just being negative about something, simply just because of the fact that I know it's going to get me the algorithms, which will get me the views and the subscriptions on my YouTube channel. And I can't do that with myself. I mean, sometimes you have to stand your ground on and be honest being true about who you are and what you are. And then also, I think sometimes you realize life can be so short, especially during in the pandemic, when a lot of people were worrying about catching this particular virus during the pandemic, which is still ongoing. Right, by the way, just that nobody's really sitting there and kind of talking about it now, because everyone's just moved on now. But I remember a lot of people were just panicking, which you can understand about, because people are scared of losing their lives and losing their loved ones. And for me, I wasn't like that, because for me, I had all my video games and all my movies and my movie collection that you can see, and that was keeping me busy. And it was one of the things that for me that saved my sanity and stopped me from getting depressed and worried, even though I was worried about losing loved ones during the pandemic. And it was these TV shows and movies and comic books and all these things that usually I do to keep myself entertained that saved my sanity. And in the past year, I mean, as I've said, I lost one of my cousins, and nobody can sit there and can explain to you how hard it can be to lose a loved one until you actually lose somebody. And because sometimes it's easy when you hear about other people losing a loved one, because and you can sympathize and you can feel empathy for other people, but it's until it hits you, when it happens to you personally. As before, it happened to me in losing my cousin a year ago, and it hit me hard because we were close. We grew up together, even though she was older than me. But it hit me, and it still does to this day, knowing that you're never going to see that person again. And it was things like video games and comic books and movies and TV shows and etc. 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 That for me, that was my fortress of solitude, which helped me go through a huge time of grief. And even recently, I lost another cousin, which was just over a month ago, and we just buried him a week ago, and I still can't believe that he's gone, because again, I was close to him as well, and then he was the cousin that I just mentioned. He was the older brother, so it's two siblings that have gone within a year. And when I found out that the person, he was sick, and then eventually, that he was gonna lose we were gonna lose him. It I didn't know what to think. I couldn't think. I thought, why? Why is this happening? And it was horrible, and it still is, and my grief process and kind of dealing with the grief again was my love of movies and TV shows and comic books that helped me go through this second set of grief the second time around. So when I see people sitting there and being negative, which you can watch a movie and a particular episode or something and not like it. That's fine. I mean, not every episode of a TV show is going to hit. It is going to be great. But when you see people sitting there and just constantly crapping on top, it's like somebody being kicked, and then you've seen the person on the floor in pain, and then it's other people just join in just for the sake of it, kicking a man while they're already down. I just don't get that. Again, I'll get called woke, because that's what people love to do, right? When you're speaking passionately about something, which I like to know. Speaking of the term woke, which they seem to be used quite recently. So what were people like that before the term woke, which no one has ever been able to give me an answer on? But a lot of these things for me, they have been my process for me of getting through a hard time. There have been YouTubers who I've poured my heart out to them, and I've said to them, look, right, I've lost a family member, and by watching your channel and watching your videos, that's helped me in some small way of dealing with my grief and what I've been going through. I'm processing my grief, and it's taken my mind off of it. And the amount of with some of these YouTubers who I've told of positive feedback I've got from them saying to me, "Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss. My condolences. I'm really happy that what they're doing has been able to help my process," and that's been great. When someone's been able to do that, even with Star Trek, for example, there's this podcast, and I've really enjoyed listening to these people. So I'd urge these people to listen to these people. They're on YouTube. They're called the Shuttle Pod Cast. They've got their own Twitter account, and they've got their own YouTube account. I've been listening to them interview Star Trek actors and actresses, directors and writers, and then two of the people that run it were actors who were on Star Trek Enterprise, and I even told the group of the people on their Twitter feed that I even told them that I same thing, lost my a family member, and watching their podcast, which I do every Sunday at 6 p.m. that it really helped take my mind off what was kind of going on, and then I got a reply back from them. And I got a really kind message back from them, which I wasn't really expecting from them. Saying, "Oh, and that really brought a warm feeling to my heart that that people that you love watching or listening to as is being part of the healing process of the grief that you're going through." And even with my YouTube channel, I like to think that if there are people out there who are going through a bad time, are going through a similar thing for me, where they've lost a loved one, or they're going through a bad time where maybe they've lost a job, lost a girlfriend or a husband or a boyfriend, or etc., or they're just, or generally speaking, they're going through a bad time of life. And for me, that if they feel that by watching my videos that have helped them in a small way, bringing a little bit of light into their life, then I've done my job. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do. Even when I get trolls on my YouTube channel where people mocking me for what I do, especially in my early videos when I was just starting out. I don't get a lot of people saying to me, that I've brought light down. I've had one or two in the past. But as I said before, if my channel grows big, it grows big. If my channel stagnates and stays where it is, it stays where it is. Then you know what, it's fine. But as long as for me, as I've said, if there's somebody out there in the world where my videos have helped bring light into their lives, or where there's darkness in their lives, or for that small millisecond where I brought some sort of entertainment into their lives for that brief moment, then I know I've done my job. And that's why I do what I do. Even when there are times when I don't feel well enough to do videos, or I get downhearted because my channel hasn't grown, or I get people being horrible to me on my channel, and it does bring, and it can bring me down. But then as I said before, when it has brought happiness to some people, then again I've done my job. So, and I would urge people out there that if, especially as I've told you my personal stuff and what's going on with grief is that for me, it's that life is too short to spend your time being negative and about being hateful, and about worrying about things that you can and cannot change, and just simply just worrying about what will happen in your life, because nobody knows what's going to happen in life. You could go tomorrow, you could go in the next 10 years, it could be the next 30 years, you could live a fruitful, healthy life, but you can't spend life living a life just being full of hate, because what you'll end up doing is that it will just pass you by. So if you want to go out there and go on a holiday, even though I know it costs money to do it. If you want to go out there and start a YouTube channel and it doesn't grow big and it stays small, or it grows big, do it. If you want to sit there and you want to go for a walk, you want to go walk on the beach, or you want to be a writer, be a musician, whatever it is that you have your heart's desires set on doing, do it, because you only get one shot at life. Don't spend your life spending it in negativity, as I've seen a lot of people do on these different social platforms, because it's not healthy. And especially on your mental health and things like depression, it's not a good thing, trust me on that, to spend your life living your life in a mud of misery, because it's not good. And that's why, as I say before, when people jump on the bandwagon, as we come in full circle to the end of this video now, is that I don't like people jumping on the bandwagon of kicking something because they don't like something, because that's what they spend their time doing. If you don't like something, fair enough, you've said you don't like it, move on. There are plenty of other things available out there that you will like. As I said before, not everything is catered for you, but be respectful that there are things that are catered for other people. And even when there's things that you don't like, that these particular things maybe are something that are helping other people going through a difficult time in their lives. So don't jump on the bandwagon and in kind of hating something. So yeah, that's all I have to say and on people jumping on the bandwagon of things. But try to stay positive in life.